Today, I'm joined by three leaders in the global talent and outsourcing space. Really excited about this podcast, actually. We have Brian Samson from Plugg Technologies, focused on nearshoring in Mexico and Latin America. We have Van, focused on software development outsourcing in Vietnam. And we have James Miles as well, the COO of Talent Hero, which is a global hiring platform and employer of record or EOR business out of the Philippines, out of Manila specifically. So, welcome to you all. I think today we're going to dive into your respective journeys, how you got into the businesses that you've founded, co-founded, the growth stories, the markets that you operate in, the challenges that you're facing, and, of particular relevance maybe to some of our listeners, any thoughts that you might have about your own exit journey, what that might look like, is it part of your roadmap, and so forth. So we'll also probably figure out a way for you guys to give your thoughts on any areas of collaboration, or overlap that may exist between your respective businesses. So I think let's start with you, Brian, if I may. I know where you are right now, but if you could just introduce yourself, let us know actually where you are, and a little bit about Plugg, how you got into the business, why you developed that business, and what problem are you trying to solve?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the question. So, exactly 10 years ago, I can't believe it's been 10 years, I've been in this world called nearshoring. And how it all started, I was in San Francisco. I had a career as what we call in San Francisco tech world, head of talent. So, in charge of all the recruiting. And I had this itch to try to become a founder. So I put together a business plan. This is 10 years ago, where fintechs were all the rage in places like San Francisco, New York. And on the fly, kind of learned, how to pivot from recruiter to doing discounted cash flow and pitch decks and everything. Found an investor, raised about $2 million, which felt like a lot of money for me coming from the Midwest in the US, but it really doesn't get you very far in a place like San Francisco. So I decided that we were going to have sales in San Francisco and put our software development team in Latin America. And we're in Latin America, it could be anywhere. I had happened to do a solo hostel style backpacking trip in Argentina a few years prior to that, and it opened my eyes. I thought this was a fascinating country, tree-lined streets. It looked like Paris maybe 50 years ago. Just a lot of opportunity there. And I didn't have kids yet. And I remember coming home one day and telling my wife, Christy, what do you think about moving to Argentina? And she's like, well, wait, where is that again? And we, a couple weeks later, we were on a flight and got settled in. I've since have been there 9 times. Um, that was not Plug. That was a company that built minimum viable products (MVPs) for fintech companies. We had an office that we grew to about 80 software developers. That business still exists. But after I had kids, moved to Hawaii. Argentina is not the easiest place to get to from Hawaii. So I was very bullish on the world of nearshore. Very bullish on how Latin America doing the same time zone, workday collaboration could just be instrumental, especially in a post-COVID world. So I've built 3 companies with the nearshore tint. The first was the fintech. The second was a company called Bali Staffing, and that's basically leasing recruiters, like an RPO model, recruitment process outsourcing. And we had about 60 VC funded tech clients as customers. And the company that I have today It's called Plugg Technologies, Plugg. And that is not country focused, it's really continent focused. So we are all over Latin America. As you said in your intro, Mexico is really our strong spot. I think we have at least 65 people in Mexico, and we're right around that 100 mark total of billable team. They're almost all focused in the IT world. Our customers are tech companies, mid-market companies, also staffing companies that don't have a delivery engine. We happen to fulfill that for them. But I'm really excited to be an ambassador for Latin America. With all respect to Van and James, I think the 2020s are the decade for Latin America. All the wind is in the sails for Latin America, and I get excited telling all of our customers the benefits of it every day.
No, I know, Brian, you do your own podcasts. I've listened to quite a few, pretty good. I'll drop the link to that in the comments after we do this podcast. But tell us a little bit about your USPs. Like what are the growth drivers for your business? And it seems to be growing remarkably well and in quite a stable and predictable fashion. But yeah, just briefly outline those for us if you could.
Yeah, I think there's been the world of nearshoring has gone from two cells to one with customers. Let me explain what I mean by that. I've been in this world now for 10 years, so I kind of have 5 years pre-COVID and 5 years post-COVID. The 5 years pre-COVID, whenever we would talk to a prospect, we were selling them on Latin America and then selling them on Plugg or Bali or whichever company. Post-COVID, it seems like there has been a big shift in how work is done. And I think there's certainly an element of the world is flat and talent can be everywhere and companies know that. But I think at the heart of it, they're looking for the most arbitrage they can get. And to me, arbitrage is value. It's not always about price, it's about value to what you're paying for it. So, return on investment, labor arbitrage, these are things that kind of come up. And post COVID, companies started to figure out how you could work with team members everywhere. And, we're all, robust entrepreneurs. We figured this out a long time ago. But a lot of our customers, it really took them during COVID to understand this. But they also learned the drawbacks and trade-offs. And I think there's wonderful benefits to offshoring. But I think with nearshoring, a lot of US companies recognized there's no replacement for getting immediate feedback on what you're working on. There's no replacement for being able to do a WhatsApp call in the moment, or a Zoom call, or Slack, or Jira, or whatever tool, and just get synchronized communication. There's really no shortage of that. So that kind of opened the doors and shifted it from being this two cell process to a one cell process. Companies get it. We want people on our time zone. We'll pay a little bit more because we're going to get way more value. And the interesting thing that has also really come alive is it's not just the time zone, which is obviously like the big thing, and sure, cost matters. But I want to talk about maybe the biggest surprise of nearshoring and how our customers are also recognizing this. If you've never been to Latin America, and by the way, 25% of Americans have a passport. That means 3/4 of Americans are not traveling. Unbelievable. But so their perception of Latin America is often based on whatever shows they see on Netflix. Narcos and the cartel shows and drug trafficking and they see the news stories of bread lines in Venezuela and crazy inflation in Argentina. Wow, Latin America just must be a Wild West type of place. I'm not going to deny that. But what I will say, and this has kind of been the secret weapon, is it's not the population, it's the government, the institutions that are doing this. Bad decisions by institutions, but the population is unfairly judged based on that.
Yeah, tell us a
So
little bit about the. I'm really curious because we've talked before offline about the characteristics of your workforce out there.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
their
I'd
kind of
love to.
their work
Yeah,
mentality, why they're interested in taking part of nearshore
yeah. So
exercise. Mm.
yeah, so I'll just hit on be- if you grow up in a very volatile world, a very volatile country, you can't predict the economy, the currency, all kinds of constraints and unpredictability. You develop a resiliency, you develop an ability to be scrappy, gritty, clever, critical thinker, um, hungry, all the things that any employer would want. So that's been, COVID kind of got us on the map, so to speak. Companies were really interested in this. And then once they get a taste of, wow, Brian, like the engineers that I'm working with from Plugg, they're really scrappy, they're really gritty, they communicate well, all these things. They come up with really creative solutions. I don't have to tell them, I can be ambiguous. And what's been attractive for the talent pool in Latin America and why they're interested in these types of opportunities is the US provides, we're not going to beat around the bush, the biggest market, for buyers. And there's challenging projects, interesting projects, and it has the ability to fundamentally change someone's life by having access to this. So we're essentially just a broker between companies that want this type of talent and this scrappy, hungry, critical thinking talent that's looking for this type of work.
Got it. What are the constraints on growth for you? And my understanding is that you're self-funded. This is your money that you put into the business. You don't have external investors, so to speak. How do you 3x or 5x your business? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic question. I'd love to be where James is and have investors coming in all the time. Where we're sitting, it's my own money, my own capital, and everything has an opportunity cost. Um, and for uh, people that are listening that are in the same shoes, when you make a mistake with a hire, wow, do you feel it? You hire the wrong salesperson, and you're like, well, I could have spent that on a vacation. I could have spent that on my kid's private school tuition. I could have spent that on a mortgage, or I could have just set the money on fire. And that's what happens when you make mistakes with your own money. Uh, but I think our really interesting thing that came on the map for us maybe 2 years ago, as we all know, going after customers and getting direct customers is hard. We figured out a way where we could market ourselves to US staffing companies that don't have a Latin America presence. And as we talk to them, we ask them, how is business going for you the last couple of years? In the best case scenario, it's been flat. We're a few years removed now from the 2021, early 2022 bull run of bull runs for staffing. We're a few years removed from that. So it's flat. So we're actually offering these staffing companies a way to juice their top line, juice their bottom line without having to invest a dollar in recruiters, knowledge of Latin America, payroll, infrastructure. They don't have to invest a dollar in that. And on the other side, we don't have to invest a dollar in more salespeople, more account management, more collections and operational staff. We have these staffing companies sell on our behalf. And when they get a bite, we just have to educate them on Latin America. And if they can reel in a bite, we fill those positions, and we've successfully partnered with about a dozen U.S. staffing companies. But I think that could easily triple, quadruple, and massively grow our business without having to take on investment or make big, roulette table style bets.
Given the size of the US staffing market, you're working with a dozen or so staffing companies. It seems like there's almost unlimited potential for growth, but the margins are going to be smaller than if you were dealing direct with end customers, right? So, I mean, if you could fast forward and see your business 3 years from now, would you see that the majority of your business is still working directly with staffing companies to support their end clients, or would you look at more of a direct model? Like how do you see that balance shifting?
I think it's really important for us to maintain a balance. I think the healthy balance for us is probably 50-50.
Yeah,
Now, there's a trade to that because a buyer who might be looking at Plugg is probably going to be more interested if every customer was our own direct customer. So we understand that trade. But we also look at this as a way to fund and fuel our ability to go after the direct clients. And we have about 25 direct customers today. So we feel pretty good about the growth there. There's a bunch of hot tech companies that we've latched ourselves into. And sometimes you just need to prove yourself with one placement, and pretty soon you've got a dozen, working on that customer. Um, so we kind of use one to pay for the other.
yeah, got it. I also just really interested. Just you're in Hawaii right now, and your president is mainland US, right? And you have teams operating in Mexico and Latin America. Now, I know we're a global world, but like, how does that all work?
Yeah, 10 years ago, it meant early mornings. Um, but I'll tell you something about Latin America that really excited me. I don't need to be explicit with follow this 21 step process with every customer that comes in or a problem comes in. I can hire people that have a lot of experience dealing with ambiguity, stress, chaos, confusion, and they're 7 hours ahead of me in Argentina, a few hours tighter, with a place like Mexico. But the messages come in when I'm sound asleep, around midnight. The customer messages on the East Coast are starting to come in. And when I wake up 7 hours later, the most amazing thing happens. I check my email and I see, oh no, this customer was upset about something. Oh, my person in Argentina, my manager saw that. My manager responded, let me look into this. And I can see the whole trail. They looked into it, they found the issue, they proposed a solution, implemented the solution, all while I was sleeping. Um, and that is something I don't think you can get everywhere in the world. And it's been just a game changer for me. Now, I do happen to have a partner who's the president of the business who's in Atlanta. But that wasn't always the case. There was this period in between where I relied on leaders from Latin America to run the business.
Yeah. You mentioned maybe my final kind of common question for you, if you like. You mentioned a buyer, so I'm assuming at some point in your roadmap there could be an exit. And you to me, a lot of people call themselves serial entrepreneurs. They start a business and then they start another one. But often the journey is like they start one and they fail. They start one and they fail. It never makes money. Like my understanding is the businesses that you've started, they get off the ground quite quick. They make money, they scale. You're able to leverage one into the next and so forth. So, you know, and I think you'll always be doing that sort of stuff. So like, what do you feel for Plugg technologies moving forward? It's like, I'm assuming that, you know, given the growth in that market, the interest that US companies and maybe others have in nearshoring, that you will have people knocking on your door. But do you have a plan in mind? What does good look like for you in the future, basically, Brian?
Yeah, I'll probably give a little more vague answer on this one because we have a lot of interesting opportunities in the market. I'm sure just like Van and James, I get emailed at least once a week from brokers, M&A advisors, investment bankers, and they're all interested. They all, you know, want to propose a way to help our growth. But I think there's something about getting to a certain size where your buyers are more mature. We're not there yet, and I would love to get to a size where the transaction is much more professional.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. I'll come back to you a little later for when we talk about areas of collaboration. And let me bring Van in now. Hi, Van. I was fascinated to learn about your own story, you know, how you went to Australia and how the Savvycom business started. But if you could just briefly touch on that for us and introduce yourself and let us know where you are today, that would be great.
Yeah,
There
thank
we
you,
go.
Simon.
Hmm.
And hello, everyone. Yeah, I am Ben. I'm a founder and CEO of Savvycom, a tech company with the headquarters in Vietnam, and we have office in other 7 countries. And yeah, thank you, Simon, for the questions. So I would say that back in 2009, Vietnam tech industry was very young at that time, and many companies had just shut down after the global financial crisis in 2008. And I myself at that time, after graduating in Australia in computer science, I came back home and had a chance to work with clients and partners from the US, Denmark, Australia. And that gave me a very clear view that Vietnam had incredible engineering talent, but very few companies were building technology at a global standard at the time. So I started Savvycom with some of my friends, and our first office was just in a small apartment in Hanoi. And our dream at that time, we talked together and was simple but bold for us at that time to prove that Vietnamese company could deliver world-class software and innovation, not just low-cost outsourcing. And those early days was full of late nights, debugging code, talking to clients across different time zones, and learning everything by doing. And now looking back, I feel that the scrappy period really shaped our DNA, like commitment, passion, creativity, and trust.
Thank you. And you won a scholarship, I believe, in the early days to go study in Sydney. Is that right? And that's kind of where you picked up your technical skills and first maybe thought about the concept of something like Savvycon. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, that I was lucky enough to get a scholarship from Australian government to study computer science, a Bachelor of Computer Science in the University of Sydney in 2000. And it gave me, not only the technical capabilities, but the more open mindset about things. I had an opportunity to compare what was happening in Australia compared to things in Hanoi, and especially things in my hometown, which is very like it was like mountainous area in Vietnam.
Amazing, amazing. So how many developers do you have roughly right now working for Savvycom?
We have about 350 full-time developer working with us at the moment. And we also have a partner of other IT companies which help us to grow the team more in a fast way.
I see. And you mentioned you're operating in 7 countries. Like what are your biggest markets? Can I know?
Yeah, so currently our biggest markets was in Australia, US, and Singapore. That's our 3 biggest markets for Savvycom.
Okay. And when we met last was in Tokyo. You're in Japan, right? So tell us about your
Yep.
thoughts on the Japan market.
Yep. Well, for Japan market, I believe that is very big markets, and more than 90% of IT companies in Hanoi work for Japanese clients. But for Savvycom, we have a few clients in Japan before, but now we just invest more in Japan, where we have our team, our business development team, and the key engineering team based in Tokyo to help our clients solve things better.
I see. And can you tell us about your USP, your unique selling points? Like what differentiates you from other software development outsourcing businesses in Vietnam right now?
Well, yeah, thank you for the questions. I also got some similar question like this, like what differentiates Savvycom is, I believe that we don't export code. We co-create value with our clients and partners. And many of our clients come to us not only for engineering capability, but because we help them to think strategically. For example, one of our long-term clients in the US came to us for mobile development. But after a while, and together we helped them redesign their entire digital ecosystem. And they later got acquired by big companies. Yeah, and also another client, for example, a global healthcare group. Initially, they asked us to build a hospital management system. And today, that product was involved in AI-powered platform, and they have been used across multiple hospitals in Asia. So was that our team's very happy to see how the product has been to the end users.
I
So
see.
yeah, so our differentiation is not just about cost or delivery speed, but about partnership, innovation, and trust. And we invest deeply in understanding our client business, and return they would stay with us in the long runs. Yeah.
Got it. And how do you hire all of these software developers? You know, do you have internal talent acquisition people? Do you use job boards? Do you use recruiters? How do you hire so many?
Yeah, so every year we have annual recruitment that we build from our internship program.
Okay.
And yes, and we also have the talent acquisition team. So before they are our internal talent acquisition team, and now we spin up into another member company of Savvycom, so they can support Savvycom as their main client, and they also can support other clients to grow their team. So that kind of pillar gives us a room to ramp up the teams quickly. And to hire team, we not only hire based on their technical skills, but we also focus a lot on the mindsets and on the attitude that match with our working culture.
I think like Brian, you very little, if any, external investment. Basically, this is essentially your business van, I understand. And so, you know, what are your own plans for growth? Like, what are you know, what is it that will help you to really scale your business and get into the tens of millions in revenue? What needs to happen?
I can share a lot of things in common with Brian's about like how we feel as a founder and bootstrapping. And so you can feel the challenge, and every time when we make mistake, the pain is I think it's stronger, right? For growing the team. So currently we just do our internally by our sales team based in Vietnam, and we also have sales team in some other office in order to work closely with the clients. But we're also thinking about like more on a partnership way where we can have either a collaboration partner or exits or majority investor to help Savvycom growth.
Thank you, Van. Let me, if it's okay, let me bring James in. James, we've known each other some 15 years, I think, from Recruit Holdings days. So I followed your journey, and I obviously know a fair amount around about the Philippine markets, the Talent Hero platform. But if you could just give us a little bit of a self-introduction and why you joined, effectively as a co-founder and COO within Talent Hero.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. Let's not age ourselves too much. We have known each other for a while, but so I'm James. I'm the co-founder and COO for Talent Hero. Look, my background is 20 years in Singapore and Asia in the talent space. And so back in 2023, we saw a few changes. There were a lot of clients that didn't need our help in Singapore anymore, didn't need help in Australia in terms of hiring. It was more about, hey, can you help us build our full stack team in Vietnam, in the Philippines, lower our overheads, give us access to world-class remote talent. So that was around the time I got together with my business partner, Oliver Lewis. He's British, based out of the Philippines. And we both had that sort of same, I guess, observation. Companies everywhere, they want to hire global talent, but most of them hit that wall when it comes to compliance, payroll, and managing offshore teams effectively. Everyone wants to do it. People are a lot more comfortable post-COVID do it, but it's about supporting them. So we also saw that the employer of record space was growing fast, but what it lacked was insight and genuine talent delivery capability. So instead of just being a paper EOR or an aggregator, like a lot of employer of record platforms are out there, we built Talent Hero to really combine HR tech plus on-the-ground support operations plus recruitment expertise, with the goal of making it frictionless for businesses to build remote teams predominantly across Southeast Asia, because that's where our background is. Oliver was based in the Philippines, so we established our engine room there. But since then, we have established operations in Vietnam and Thailand, which are both growing quite quick as well. Yes.
Thank you, James. I think when I reflect on leadership and partnerships, co-founders and so forth, and I've seen many different setups and many different boards. Diversity, it can be an asset rather than two founders that think too similarly, right? And I know Ollie quite well. He's Filipino ethnicity, but British born, and has the same accent as us and so forth. But his personality as well and his style, from my point of view, is quite different to yours. So how do you see that kind of how that plays out in the real world in Talent Hero?
Well, it's like every good good partnership, right? You got the ideas man and the corporate guy. Yeah, it's like so I'm the straight guy. I'm the corporate guy. I put the infrastructure, the processes, the platform in place. Oliver's got the big ideas and the entrepreneurial skill set. So it merges things quite well together. We can shoot for the moon and then build the ladder to get there.
Understood, and I would agree with that. Just in terms of your investment journey so far, and Brian had mentioned a certain amount of envy that you've managed at least to secure some investment so far. So how is that journey going so far? My understanding is that you're kind of at the friends and family stage still, a couple of more sophisticated investors, but you're not yet into kind of Series A, Series B. How's that playing out for you at this point, James?
Yeah, look, Talent Hero, we're a cash flow positive, profitable company. We have done a small seed round,
Yeah.
not because we need the money for cash burn or for runway. It was more for accelerating the story. So it was more about adding fuel to the fire to really project the rocket ship. So that's helped us somewhat. We certainly see the Talent Hero journey as not a sort of lifestyle business. We see this space as hot for the next 3 to 4 years, and we want to accelerate it and grow it as quickly as possible. So that initial small seed rounds helped us to do that, but we will probably continue to look at the investment process, maybe a bigger Series A in Q1 or Q2 next year to further accelerate this story.
So on that point, if someone gave you $5 million in Q2 of next year, what would you do with that?
Um,
And
well,
it's not buying yourself a new Porsche, anything like that.
well, I thought you were promising there, but yeah, it would go to a number of different areas. It would certainly go into most of our business is coming in through cold outreach. So we would like to see an increase in inbound. So a lot of that will go into digital marketing and further developing that side of things. It will be about go to market. So getting into other areas such as maybe Eastern Europe area, a Bulgaria, a Serbia to build operations there. The South Asia piece in a Sri Lanka, a Bangladesh. But also setting up our sales offices, in Sydney, Tokyo, London, Silicon Valley. I think our certain business model is really about high touch business. So if we can get people on the ground there, that would be good. And then look, on top of that, it's just getting real key people, adding a CFO, a CMO to the business. So there'll be a number of different areas and further accelerating our technology platforms, Talent Pay and Talent OS, because they cost a lot of money to run.
When you say all that, it could sound to someone who doesn't know the business that like you're a little bit all over the place, like it's like everywhere and everything. But I get it. The sales offices really are just funnels, aren't they, to sell your delivery capabilities out of the Philippines to some of the other key locations that you're working in, primarily in Southeast Asia. So I get all of that. I mean, just in terms of employer of record, which is a hot space. Let's face it, people do want. Many companies do want to find a way that they can, legally operate compliance-wise, governance-wise in markets like the Philippines, Vietnam, and so forth. Like, what does the EOR space look like in the Philippines? Is it quite crowded already, and you're kind of a late entrant, or there's a few players like yourself struggling to gain an early toehold?
Well, yeah, look, we're obviously our engine room's in the Philippines, but we're a Singapore business and we're expanding into Southeast Asia. So we see ourselves very much as a Southeast Asia play, not just the Philippines. But if we look at the Philippines as a market, it is a traditional BPO market. So it is, you've got the Convergence, the Teleperformance, these sort of companies. And that's a space that's going to continue to get competition from AI because, do you really need customer service? Do you really need Tech 1 level support, Tech 2 level support. So EOR is still not dominant, particularly the way that we're doing it, which is very much a talent first, talent delivery, EOR focused business, not purely just a payroll platform. We're taking a very deep and narrow approach where we own the full turnkey solution. We've got the office space, we've got the equipment, we've got the recruitment teams on the ground, the payroll platform, the legal entities. So the companies that come to us are the ones that wanna scale. They don't just want to payroll one or two expats. They wanna, hey, Talent Hero, can you help us build a team of 50 React full stack developers or a team of 25 Salesforce developers? So it's really about that niche white collar scale space that I think we're dominating, where we don't see that much competition at this stage.
Fantastic. Without giving the client name, could you give us one particular example or case study of how that's worked out for you in the last, say, 6-12 months?
Yeah, I mean, look, we've had some great case studies. One of them, a big US e-commerce company based out of Las Vegas. They were, huge overheads. Obviously, US has highest average annual salaries in the world. Their overheads were killing them. They were about 6 million in the red from an operating point of view. They came to us. We helped them to grow their team across UI, UX, customer services, full stack, and customer success. Built a team for them from 0 to 40 people within 12 months. They took our office space, they took our equipment, they used our payroll platform, and that's now helped the company go from sort of in debt to now 8 million in profit. And off the back of that success, we've won a few other US e-commerce companies, and word is getting around, certainly in the Vegas area. So that was really good for us.
Fantastic. Listen, it's such an interesting podcast for me. We're in 4 different locations, and actually Ryan, who's in the background, who's, will do all the kind of the shaping of the podcast afterwards. He's in Hong Kong, and James, you're in Singapore. You just got back from Hong Kong, is that right? And Van,
Yeah.
are you in Hanoi, Van, or where are you today?
Yes, I'm in Hanoi at the moment.
You're in Hanoi, and Brian, I believe you're in Hawaii. Is that right? Honolulu?
Correct.
Yeah, that's right. I'm in Tokyo. So amazing. So maybe we can sort of bring you all in together now. Like I'm really, obviously we talked about, global talent platforms and outsourcing and software development and so forth. And we have a nearshoring business, we have a software outsourcing development business, and we have an EOR and global talent platform. You're in different parts of the world. There seems to be exciting, growing parts of the world. Maybe any of you have any thoughts about the collaboration opportunities? For example, could one of your clients or your staffing businesses that you support for nearshoring, could there be a connection with something that Van is doing or James is doing? Brian, how do you feel about this generally?
Yeah, I think there's 2 parts of Van's business that's extremely interesting for me. The first is Vietnam is effectively like the other side of the world with Latin America. And I think a lot of tech companies like the follow the sun model. So work never stops. It's like the old factory days of first shift, second shift, third shift. I think there's an opportunity there. And we are a staffing company all the way through. I really look at Van as running a business that is much more sophisticated than mine, where they can do holistic fixed price projects, run the architecture, the spec, the scope, all the way to the finish line and be held for the outcome. I think there's a big opportunity for us to pair up with a company like Van's.
James, Van, do you have any thoughts at all around this?
Yeah, I mean, from my side, as I said, I think the US piece is key, with 60% of our clients being from the US, and that's just growing day by day. South America piece that we don't know a lot about, but working with Brian on that, I think will be critical. If we can help our US clients build offshore teams, in Southeast Asia, great. But if we can help them with nearshore teams as well, so there's collaboration there. And equally on Van's side, as we're purely in that EOR offshore team building space, when a client really wants a product build, wants a development completely outsourced, that's really not in our wheelhouse. And we do get requirements. So I think working with Van on that will be great.
Fantastic. Van, any thoughts from your side?
Yeah, so I totally agree with Brian and James that we have a lot of opportunity to collaborate. So I can see that we share the set of clients, and we also can work together. Like we have the client have the team in different place, so the team can work maybe 24 hours. And even working when the client was sleeping, and it's really help the client to build their product. And also where Brian is very close to the client, to the US client, so you may have like bridge the gap about the culture, and with James as well. So we really need the better team with different people from different place, and the faster we can ramp up the team, the better for the clients. So I really think that we can collaborate well together.
Thank you, everybody. It's been a real pleasure having you all on. I feel personally very grateful for the opportunity to have met you all in person, to learn more about your businesses and your management leadership styles. I'm excited to be doing a certain amount of advisory work with some of you at various points, and really interested in seeing how your journeys progress and potentially overlap and intersect as we move forward. So thank you very much for joining us. We'll get the podcast out, and I'll share links to your respective businesses, and wish you all a wonderful rest of the day, and in your case, Brian, a lovely evening ahead. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Cheers.